The Sugar Shack. There's no better celebration of female friendship than the bachelorette party. Like your wedding, it's the one time that you get to bring together all of your friends from every season of life and introduce them to each other. We should throw a bachelorette party at least once a decade. It's amazing. It's also slightly anxiety-inducing. Will they all like each other? The scariest sentence when you bring friends together is, "I've heard so much about you." It's loaded and ambiguous. Good things? Bad things? What did she tell you? They're left to wonder. And I'm not gonna lie. My friends who know me know that there's some reason for concern, because I'm a storyteller. I have an excellent memory. The problem with my memory is that sometimes it fills in the pieces and makes the stories more elaborate. I guess the right word would be embellishing, though I don't view it that way. Let's call it imagination. This is just how my brain works. And once the story is formed, it's locked into memory and it becomes fact. I'll give an example shortly. We celebrated my bachelorette party in Lake Geneva. We rented a big lake house. My high school friends attended, along with my college roommates, my sister-in-law, and my younger brother's girlfriend. The first night we got into town, we immediately got shit-faced and played board games as an icebreaker. That's when the Maggie stories started to come out of the vault for fact-checking. The majority of them had held up, met with, "I can't believe you remember that." But at some point in the night, we were all feeling comfortable with each other. My college roommate Jody asked my oldest bestie Lindsay, "Is it true that your high school boyfriend asked you to prom by writing prom on his dick?" Linz looked at me with shock and horror. "Maggie, what did you tell them? That didn't happen." I looked at her with the same surprise. "Yes, it did. I can picture it vividly as if I was there." The truth of the story was that Lindsay's boyfriend had invited her over, freshly out of the shower, with a towel around his waist, and casually asked her to prom. She must have come back and told us, "He asked me to prom naked," when she told me the story back in 2002. My brain had taken this information and ran with it. In my story, he was laying on the bed of rose petals, one knee propped up, with PROM ? Written in Sharpie on his boner. Now I was in the hot seat. "Maggie, how did you even know he would have, how did you even think he would have pulled off such a proposal? Sharpie? Isn't that messy? Permanent? Did he write it on himself or ask his mom for help? How long would he have had to remain erect, waiting for her to arrive home?" It was quite the interrogation. I had to admit that I hadn't thought about all these details. This was a tough fact check. And when I realized my memory is fallible and maybe not as trusted as I think. All that to say, these are my stories and this is my truth. And that won't be the first time I discuss boner logistics in this story. Apologies in advance. The bachelorette weekend plan was mostly relaxation, but the main event was going to be a wild night out. You see, there's this magical establishment in Geneva, Wisconsin, called the Sugar Shack. I had heard more of it from a friend who had been there the previous summer. They bring in hot college guys to work for the summers, rake in a shitload of money, and then go back to college in the fall. You have to go. I was hesitant at first. I'd never been to a male strip club. A couple of my more squeamish college roommates expressed absolute disgust. Ew. Gross. Strip clubs are pathetic. I hate them. And so I was forced to play the Bridezilla card. It's my party. You have to do what I want. End of argument. We went hard on the pregame that night. Everyone was a little nervous, especially me. What if it was disgusting and everyone blames me for a miserable night? We finally arrived at the lake show. To get the male section of the club, you have to walk through the first floor, which is just a regular strip club. It was dark and seedy. I remember signs up warning the men not to take photos or to touch the entertainers. Men were in there alone, straight-faced and quiet. And not to sound judgmental, but the downstairs was just sad. Then we walked upstairs. Lights bright on the stage, no sign telling you how to behave. Women know how to behave. Or do we? The energy was electric. When the show began, even the most resistant of my posse found themselves screaming and squealing at the top of their lungs. I don't know what came over us. It was like you left your body and lost all control. It was a combination of excitement, embarrassment, and uncontrollable laughter. Though it might be hard to believe, I actually don't like to be the center of attention. I was always the kid who cried when they sang happy birthday to me. Being on display often elicits tears. There were about 4 bachelorette and birthday parties going on there that night, and the performers hit the crowd to pull the lucky ladies up onto the stage for the show. Diego was my guy. And let me just say, he was a true gentleman. They sat, the 4 of us, in chairs as they began their lap dances. At one point, Diego was in full push-up position with his legs wrapped around my neck, and despite his G-string, my nose was practically in his taint. All the while, he carried on a polite and casual conversation. When's your wedding? When are you guys getting married? Are these ladies your bridesmaids? Diego could tell my nerves needed calming to get me through this show. He was quite the conversationalist, kind and sweet, all while gyrating all over my body. I was beet red, my eyes watering from laughter, mixed in with some embarrassed tears. When I laugh hard, I always cry. Diego kept taking my hands and forcing me to grab his ass. My friends were laughing at my long fingers, which I was awkwardly holding stick straight so as not to grip too deeply into his butt crack. When the lap dances were over, the boys came out for their individual dances. The grand finale was Dustin, who ended the show with a full Monty. Over the course of the show, something shifted. We all became like raunchy men. Show us your dick! After years of being the subjects of the male gaze, the tables were turned. My friend called the cowboy over, and she slipped her number into his pants. Call me, she motioned with a fake hand phone to her ear. Drunken and sloppy. He'll call. We were certain. We dissected the bodies in detail. I would like to take Diego's face and put it on Dustin's body. We were gross. But it felt good to unite and objectify men the way we had spent our lives being objectified. I know 2 wrongs don't make a right, but in that moment, it felt right. I called my fiance in the morning and shared the details of our evening. I told him we were surprised by the full Monty at the end. We were expecting a boner, but it was flaccid. My fiance jumped at events of Dustin. How would that even work, Maggie? That would be so creepy if he was erect. He's not a porn star. How would he even stay that hard for the show? Well, I don't know. Clearly, I don't have a penis, and I don't know boner logistics. The night was one for the ages. I'll never forget the Sugar Shack. My memory may be fallible, but I'll always remember how it bonded the group. We live in a world where most things arguably are shittier for women. We deal with periods, hormones, pregnancy, breastfeeding, the mental workload, society's expectations of us as humans, of our bodies, the constant judgment from others, and judgments of ourselves, and the contradicting expectations put on us. It's really hard to find any example where it's better to be a girl. But one of the main things I will always come back to is female friendship. Partners are great, but I don't think I could live life without the intimacy shared between girlfriends. The cowboy never called my friend that night, which is a bit of a blow to the ego. We had to admire his professionalism. I guess what happened at the Sugar Shack didn't stay at the Sugar Shack. I wonder what Diego's up to these days.